The first Hungarian epic written was called the Siege of Sziget, before translation titled Szigeti Veszedelem. It was written in 15 parts in 1647 and published in 1651 by Miklós Zrínyi VII. Zrínyi chose to write about his great-grandfather Miklós Zrínyi IV, who was a great general in the epic and in real life, to tell the story of the political fight of the Hungarians and to write the first Hungarian epic. It is amazing that this epic was written about the historical battle of Miklós Zrínyi's great-grandfather, which happened 100 years prior to writing the epic. In this epic, we can discover they also told stories about family through the generations, but in this case of Miklós Zrínyi, who wrote a family story into the epic, which was the first of its kind. This epic shows the importance of storytelling, sharing family stories, and writing them down. The Zrínyi territory was located between the Habsburgs, which they belonged to, in the Kingdom of Hungary under Mátyás Corvinus, and the Turks, who were part of the Ottomans. The fight for power led to the famous battle against the Ottomans in 1566, called the Siege of Sziget. It began on August 5th and ended on September 8th in 1566, called the Siege of Sziget. The battle between these two led to the foundation of the storyline of the Siege of Sziget. The significance of the battle was that it stopped the Ottoman Empire from advancing towards Vienna, and that the outnumbered Hungarian-Croatian army kept fighting, and had great leaders to help them. The Turkish lost 20,000 men, and the Hungarians lost 2,300. Even though the Turkish won, the famous Sultan Suleiman was killed by Miklós Zrínyi IV, and many of the men died in battle. It is known as the battle that saved the Western civilization. In the prologue of the epic, Miklós Zrínyi VII includes details that his great-grandfather killed Sultan Suleiman, and remarks that he had to do some research on the death of the Sultan, which was both personal and national research. He explains his reasons for only writing a first draft and why he did not go back to edit. He also lets the reader know he will mention love in the epic, as well as religion, legends, and famous authors, like the Greek poet Homer and the ancient Roman poet Virgil. The themes in the prologue show how the epic is personalized to him and his family, and shows the current socio-economic status of the times. The epic begins with Zrínyi commenting on the religious belief of the divine will in which the Turks believed. In the opening of the epic, God is angry with the Hungarians for their lack of faith and decides to make Sultan Suleiman hearts evil, so he sends someone to hell to suffer. Then Suleiman gathers his soldiers to attack Sziget, creating a battle and the foundation of the story. The love triangle of the Sultan's daughter, Camilla, begins to be told near the beginning of the epic. This is where Zrínyi writes about his personal heartache that he mentions in the prologue, and turns them into characters in the epic. Before the battle begins in the epic, Zrínyi has the characters discuss the attack plans. His great-grandfather makes a pact with God, which foreshadows that his request will happen. Before the battle in the epic begins, Zrínyi sends his son away, who is the poet's father, because he knows his death in the upcoming battle. This shows the family's personal history was embedded in the epic. Now the two armies battle each other over many days. Battle plans are changed, more love stories unfold, many deaths occur in battle, people are eternally sent to hell, and God sends help to aid the Hungarians. As the epic comes to an end, the Sultan is beheaded by Zrínyi. Zrínyi is shot and killed, which was part of his pact with God. The final stanzas are of angels carrying everyone's souls into heaven, closing with a special remark to give a favor to his son, referring to Zrínyi's great-grandson, and the author of the epic. This is tying his family once again to the historical battle within the epic. The characters throughout the epic show the themes from Zrínyi's life and ancestors' lives. At the time Zrínyi wrote the epic, the Hungarians were still trying to get the Turks out of Hungary, and he wanted the Hungarians to be reminded of the enemy. This epic also serves as a political persuasion for his people. He even goes as far as giving the opponent characters some brave, complex characteristics in order to not offend them too much and have some after him. In general, stories tell the listeners or readers about a time in history. Family stories tell personal memories and give details that are meaningful for generations to come. In this epic, the reader sees Miklós Zrínyi VII was proud of his great-grandfather and how the political times were still changing for Hungarians. Zrínyi wrote the first Hungarian epic, the Siege of Sziget, with his family story and Hungarian society in mind.